It's the soldier, not the reporter who fought for freedom of press. It's the soldier, not the poet who fought for freedom of speech. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer who fought for freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows protesters to burn the flag.
Please stand for the presentation of the flags, followed by the singing of the national anthem by Nicole Dominguez.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome to our 12th annual Hour with the Hero ceremony. Mr. Young plans to address questions from our audience today. If you are interested in asking any questions to the Veteran of the Hour, please start thinking of them now. We are pleased to introduce you, Lonnie Young.
Pretty good.
All right, so do you want to kind of tell us your story before I ask you some questions?
Okay. I was born in Texas in 1949. I was there until I was 6 years old. Then we moved to California. I went to school, graduated high school in California. Did the normal stuff back then that kids do, played Little League Baseball, played just Little League Baseball. I was a member of the Independent Order of Odd Fellows. Back then it was a pretty big deal. I don't know about it anymore though. I've had, let's see, this is the first time I've done this, so that's all new to me. I went to high school, finished that, played football, baseball, got kicked off the basketball team. I can get a microphone now. Can you all hear me? Is this better or is this better? Microphone. Okay, that's all right. I don't like using them anyway, but that's good. You really don't know what to tell you, so let's get into the questions.
All right, so these are the top most asked questions, but what was the food like when you were in service?
It would depend on where you were at or where I was at. Boot camp, I didn't get to eat much of it. We had 7-8 minutes to eat, a platoon of 70. So we didn't get to eat all of it or any of it most of the time. They kept us moving. It wasn't that good anyway. But afterwards, the food in the mess hall was pretty good. Back when I was in the Marine Corps, we had what they call C-rats, which is canned food. And if you heated it up right and mixed a few things with it, it was okay.
How long were you in service for?
I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years. We want to do short answers or or long answers?
It's up to you.
All right. When I got out of high school, I went to boot camp in California, MCRD. Graduated there. Went to what do they call it? A basic infantry training. Then I went to advanced infantry training. Then they cut us loose for a month. Then I went to something called staging battalion, and that prepares you to go to Vietnam, or overseas. And then I went from staging battalion to Vietnam.
Do you have like a favorite memory or a memory that always makes you laugh?
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is, don't do this. Don't do this. But our instructors in basic, or not in basic, but in advanced training, they would go through the wall lockers on Sunday evening, and they would take out what we call pogie bait, which is candy, cookies, stuff like that. And so they would go through the wall lockers every Sunday evening. So I got the idea that I didn't like that, but I wasn't in any real position to stop them. So I went home on the weekend pass after that, and I had one of my friends. I told her I wanted to make some chocolate chip cookies. So she said, "Oh, that's great. You're going to take them back to the base?" I said, "Yeah." So I went and bought, I don't know, 2-3 boxes of X-Lax. And we made the cookies, and I took them back, put them in the wall locker, put them in the back so they would find them. And there was 4 of them on duty that night, and there was only 2 dozen cookies. So they ate all of the cookies. One of them told me the cookies tasted really well, really good. I said, okay. And then the next morning, we had a force march of about 10 miles. And we took off on the force march, and we got about half a mile out of the base area, and they stopped the column, and all the instructors went out to the bushes. And we did that a couple of times, and then they decided to go back to the base. And when we got back to the base, one of the instructors come up, and he said, "Young, if we would have saved any of those cookies, I would have your butt in jail." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Those cookies gave us diarrhea." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, wow." But you know, after that, they never went and checked my wall locker again. So, you know, don't do that.
So do you remember, like, the last day your service ended? Like, what did it feel like, or what do you remember?
When I finally got out, I was pretty well relieved. I had a job lined up on the outside. I was married and had 2 kids, or 1 kid, and I had a daughter on the way. So I was doing okay then. I had a job, everything was okay, fine. It was just a matter of getting out and getting into the civilian world.
Was there something you and your team did for like good luck before you went off somewhere?
I didn't, but we had one fella that we were getting ready to go out on an operation, and he had a rabbit's foot, a St. Christopher, a cross, a little, I think it was a Buddha, and something else. And he was sitting there, had his legs crossed, and he was praying to each one of them. And I walked up and I said, "What's going on?" He said, they called me Red back then. I had red hair too. And he goes, "Red, you know where we're going?" And I said, "No." He said, "We're going to the Ashaw Valley." I said, "Oh, okay. So what's with the," he says, I don't know how to say this. "I don't want to piss anybody off. You know, all the religions, he wanted to make them happy so he'd get back." He did make it through. We did go to the Ashaw Valley. We spent 4 or 5 days in there, made contact and got out of it. Did what we needed to do there.
That's interesting. So how did you get by every day? Did you have like a special picture or something, or like a memory that helped you get by?
You mean in Vietnam or
Yes.
now?
Or anywhere.
Anywhere, okay. In Vietnam, I didn't, no, I didn't have any photographs of anyone or anything like that. We carried all of our weapons, our explosives, and things like that in a pack or on the pack, and it weighed about 126 pounds. And in that, we had normally we'd have 2 days of rations, which is 4 meals, and the rest of it was explosives, bullets, mortar rounds, C4, deck cord, which is string that blows up. But as far as having something that I would look at, I didn't know. I didn't have that thought process.
So how do you think your time in service changed you? Like if you never went in the military, how do you think you would have been now compared to then?
Well, I hear people say that, you know, they'll say, "Well, if I had done this, life would be better." And because I've thought about that several times. When I made, like the gentleman before me, see, I made my choices. I made the choice to go in the Marine Corps. I knew I was going to Vietnam. So I just lived with what situations came about from those choices. When I got back from Vietnam, it was a shock for a lot of reasons. One of them was people weren't very friendly toward us coming back. And I had people that I had known before I went to Vietnam call me names, tell me I did this, I did that. I had one older lady that she was calling me a baby killer. And, you know, I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, and we shot old ladies too." And she took off running. So she didn't bother me with that no more. Then when I came off the base, the first time, they told us not to wear our uniforms. And I said, "No, I'll tell you what, I went to Vietnam, I did my bit over there, and, you know, I'm gonna wear my uniform." Well, I walked off the base, and they had protesters out there, and one of them made one of them made a really bad mistake. He spit on me, and it took 4 MPs to pull me off of him. And had they not pulled me off of him, I really don't know what I would have done, but all I needed was 3 or 4 more seconds, and they didn't give it to me. They put me in their MP vehicle, drove me to another exit, and got me off base. No charges were filed against me or anything else.
Do you have any close friends that you're still in touch with that you made when you were in service?
When I first got back from Vietnam, it was a real change for me. I didn't know what to do except get a job and work. I had no contact with anybody that I was with in Vietnam. Then I ran across one guy at a Certified Groceries of California. He was working there, and when I saw him and he saw me, it was like, wow, you made it back. And on both of our parts, and I worked there for about 3 months and got time to either join the union, which that was a union shop, or go or leave. So he and I had some discussion and some words, and so I left, and I didn't see him again for many years. About 12 years ago, I learned how to operate a computer. And in my time that I couldn't sleep, I would stay up looking for certain numbers and things on people when they would post something about their military branch or something like that. And right now we've got right about 75 to 80 that served in my company during Vietnam from the 10 years that we were there. And I see them guys every June. And I'm not trying to sell a book or anything, but if you folks were to go down to the library or whatever you buy books, Kindle or whatever, and get the book Matterhorn, that will give you a real day-to-day insight as to what it was like in Vietnam. It's a novel about Vietnam, and it was written by my company executive officer, and it talks in the language that we used back then that you can't use now. But it's a very informative book. And all of the people, when I go to the get-together in June in North Carolina, and I see the guys that are in the book, and we talk about the book and what we've done since then and things like that.
All right, well, I think our time's coming to an end, but do you have anything else you want to add?
I didn't hear you.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, would you folks like to see me do a little soft shoe? You don't even know what a soft shoe is, do you? It's a shuffle off the buffalo dance. But are we over?
You want to do it?
Huh?
You want to do it?
No, I can't do it. I didn't even know how to do it. But what I would like to say is that, in today's world, it seems like they're losing a value of this country. One of the things that are such as our borders. People are always trying to get into this country. Rarely do you find someone trying to get out of this country. But in other countries, they want to leave their country and come here for the betterment of their life and things like that. But as far as the Americanism and the patriotism, that's lacking these days. See, I joined the Marine Corps when President Kennedy said, "Ask not what you can do for your country." No, ask not what your country can do for you. Right. Ask what your country can do, what you can do for your country. And I took that as to heart. So I've done things to help my country as much as I can. And I've been to other countries. I've been to Vietnam, I've been to Okinawa, I've been to Japan, been to Australia, and the lifestyle that they have is different from here. You know, Vietnam and Okinawa are nowhere close to each other. Vietnam was back then a pretty desolate place. The people were friendly, but it was just there. I was there for a job.
Now to the tough questions. All
It's
right.
a tough question. Okay.
So we got a little bit less looking good person, but I'm gonna ask some questions too, right? All right.
Sure.
All right. So I'm a recruiter, right? A recruiter, exactly. All right. So everyone has this stigma that recruiters are going to lie to you, right? Let me ask you a question, just your personal. How was your experience from that Marine recruiter when you got in? Did you know you wanted to do Marines, or how did that actually unfold?
Say that again.
Did you know you wanted to go to be a Marine, or did the recruiter entice you and say, hey, we can do this?
No, I went down to the recruiting office and I joined the Marine Corps. I knew where I was going to go. I played football in high school. I played all-star games or all-star teams. We won. My coach from high school came down, and I'd already joined the Marine Corps before that game. And he was all mad at me because I had 4 colleges looking at me for a full ride. And so no. Now, I do know for a fact. For a fact that some recruiters will lie.
Right.
And that's just a fact of life. I had a young man that was a good Marine, and he had signed up in the Marine Corps for 6 years. And his first enlistment, they let him sign it for 6 years. He was wanting to be a diesel mechanic. And I got in detail with him because of the situation I'm about to tell you. I went through, when I joined the unit, I went through all my guys. I was a platoon sergeant, went through all their service record books, saw that he had signed up in the Marine Corps for 6 years to be a grunt, infantry. And I said, that doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So I went down and I talked to him. Mm-hmm. And he says, no, Sarge, I joined to be a diesel mechanic to help out on the farm when I get out of the Corps. And I said, okay, do you have a copy of your contract available? He said, yeah, my dad's got it. I said, have him send it to your registered mail. When you get it, bring it down and show me. Because at that time, he was working for battalion headquarters. And so he got it in a week or two and came down, showed it to me, and I read it, and I looked at it, and I said, no, okay, because your service record book shows you signed up to be in the Marine Corps for 6 years as a grunt. Now, this...
For those that don't know what a grunt is.
A ground pounder, infantry, the guy that's got the pack on his back and is going to do business with the bad people. I'm trying to be...
Right.
You know, I mean... Anyway, so I looked at his contract. I saw that his contract that he was in his service record book was a fraudulent contract. He was in the Marine Corps, I think, 9 or 10 months at that time. Now, had he stayed, if he would have went past 1 year, he would have been locked into the contract for the infantry. So I told him, I said, all right, this is what you want to do. I said, you want to take the contract you have, take the contract that you have in your SRB, right, we'll get you a copy of that, put them in an envelope, walk up to the lieutenant, or tell me you want to request mass. That means he gets to go see the next guy up above me, which is a platoon commander. Then he went to the company commander, and then he went to the battalion executive officer, and he asked me, he says, well, what do I tell him? I said, you tell him you want to request mass, and then when you get to the colonel, the battalion commander, you explain to him what happens, and that you want to either, this is a choice you have to make. You either want out of the Marine Corps, or you want him to send you to motor transport school or mechanic school. And so he says, okay. So he got to the battalion commander, and he told the battalion commander, and within 3 days, this Marine had orders for motor transport mechanical school. Now, had he stayed there till that year and 1 day, he would have been locked into that contract. So they can't, now this is back during Vietnam and stuff, and they're real hard charging to get somebody in the Marine Corps. And I mean, not all recruiters are that way. My recruiter was a nice guy. He told me what I was going to get into, and I already knew that. So what are the hard questions?
So the last final question. Now, Vietnam is a little bit different from what's going on now.
Really?
I would assume. Now, for any high school kids or gals that may be thinking about going to the military, what would be your bit of wisdom for them to consider when they go talk to a recruiter?
Be aware that once you sign the contract, that when you go to they'll give you the opportunity to go to a particular school, such as electronics, motor transport, mechanic, computers, or whatever. They'll give you the opportunity to pick some schools for you to go to. Keep in mind that if you go to that school and you fail that course and they don't allow you to take that course over, then your MOS, military occupational skill, is going to be whatever they need at the time. Okay? So even though you're under a guaranteed contract to go to the school for a specific thing, if you don't have the ability to pass that school, then you will be put in something that they want you to be in. That's one of the harshest lessons that people don't quite understand sometimes. Because I've heard young guys say, well, I was guaranteed. Well, yeah, they guarantee you the school, but you have to do the work to pass the classes in order to go to that military occupational skill. Did they get to ask questions?
I'm just looking at you. Ooh, that'd be probably a great one.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a couple?
Sure.
Sweet. Anybody want to ask a question real quick? Run.
What was your primary inspiration to join the Marine Corps?
They look pretty and dress blues. No.
Good answer.
I knew, like I said, I knew what I would be doing. And for me, I just liked the Marine Corps. I mean, no, anybody can get in the Army. I knew that was coming. Well, I'm going to give all of you a piece of information. I'm going to explain to you what Army stands for.
Don't make me feel bad.
Huh?
Don't make me feel bad.
Oh, okay. Army, you spell it out, A-R-M-Y, aren't real Marines yet.
That was cute.
The Marine Corps, they'll take a location, and then they'll bring in the Army, and they'll keep that location because there's so many of them, and there's so few of us.
Why are there so few of you guys?
What was that?
Why is there so few of you guys? Why is there so few of you guys?
If they had an army of Marines, nobody in the world would be safe. We would rule the world. Not as dictators, but as liberators. That's a funny. Hard crowd.
One more question? Anybody? Well, hey, you were awesome. You know, it kind of made me feel kind of bad. Come on.
He's slow.
And it better be a Marine question, not an Army question.
Do you feel like the military has the resources and the staff available to deal with stuff like mental health
I
issues?
understand what you're saying.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
Do you feel like at the time during Vietnam and now, do you feel like the military has the proper staff and resources to deal with, mental health issues and stuff like that?
In the Marine Corps, I can't speak for the Army, but in the Marine Corps, they have because of the mental PTSD and stuff like that, they have evolved into where they have the staff sergeants, the sergeants are given classes about PTSD so that if they see it popping up in someone, they can pull them out, get a debrief on them, and then either put them somewhere else or put them back in the field. I have PTSD myself. Had it since 1969. You sitting on, well, in my case, I got blown up with an 82 millimeter mortar, which is about that long, and it's about, that big around. And it blew up right next to me, and I'm still this pretty. I survived it, so I'm still this pretty. I can't go through a metal detector without setting it off. They didn't take the shrapnel out, all of it, because some of it's lodged around my eyeball.
Let's give this guy a round of applause.
Good job.
We're gonna walk over this way so we can get into it.
Okay. Oh, I get something? Oh, geez.
At this time, we would like to thank our Veteran of the Hour, Lonnie Young, for sharing his story with us. We are honored to have you here today. Presenting a special thank you is our very own Har-Ber High recruiter, Sergeant Brown.
I don't get no woo-woos.
On behalf of Har-Ber East, thank you for attending today.
Okay, anybody here know how to say